the point in some of the things he addresses in terms of application of state resources during the period of the MPP. He may have a point. But the picture he paints prior to the Russia-Ukraine war and the picture he paints right now prior to the Israeli war is different. And it will obviously be different because there was COVID immediately preceding Russia-Ukraine war. So if you are coming out of COVID, you are coming from a terrible situation, and that was the state of affairs everywhere in the world. Everybody's inflation was up. Those who have never seen inflation at 5%, they saw it. Those who have never seen inflation in double digits, they saw it. Those of us who struggle with inflation double single digits, we shot up into the roof. That was the post-COVID effect of economies. Whilst very small economies like Ghana are thinking about that, and then come Russia-Ukraine war. So the economic fundamentals preceding the Russia-Ukraine war was itself completely wobbling. And that was the state of affairs everywhere. Yeah, but girl, so I'm not sure what the point they're making. Then the point about
anya moto accident from ya my girl no sending it esia pai chale video na eya girl ni din ode what TikTok eya elamundi na ni din foforo sa wo no eya yadempo boy no so no so da screen so no edin a omode frɛ na eya jeso girl we ya me de na to so yi eya abna baby eye elamundi ya meka na asemi se wanya accident no na damfo pa omumienu ne pie na de kosi yenie abna baby kana asem no ye ne be omu ofie say girls weekend abaye say 6 March 7th March enti no pie de obi epie bi eno elamundi eye ka kira abna baby ni say omu mpie omu si initially kura no omu di kan ekọ baby no omu kọ baby ni na elamundi no wafrim no ono ne Ghana jersey but na abna baby no ni Ghana jersey enti baby a no mo kọ ne ya mo anwuram no so ho ne AK oseden ti ya mo anwuram ti ya mo anwuram na elamundi se ne se na damfo anwuram de ne ono so ntimi nwuram e na mo firi honom ekọ okrom tie o abna baby kọto jersey esa ye customize ni din esa gu na chi e na mo ye so mbekọ Sky Hype Lounge ewo Bantima enti video na the screen so no hu say abna baby no ehye Ghana jersey sam ni jersey no ko customize en na elamundi no enso ehye ono so Ghana jersey enti no omu nyina ko Sky Hype akwa party because na Sky Hype for mo ye Independence Day bash enti two beautiful young girls holiday abomo peso omu pie na omakọ Bantima so omo ko club na omo ko akọji omani kakra de omo ko ye no ho no na nka mepese meka ba me meka no abeka se me boa na damfo na me ne best friend ameka se abena baby ono ni pie ewura ho no yenti mfiro no ananu mumra
madam fo ne so official mo why where dey say besa omma me bosia na sika wo me hunya ye 400 cedis pa na me di pie ana o ka kile me say menye serious omma me besia na bo nka tell me say onye serious na me say mate is 400 cedis pa na ekita me o me ko ye shisha vodi bibia me na betua aye na ela ka tell me say wo de me nto de mama me ka say mate ni shisha na wo ka no grofo say we bad friend momo we bad friend
mo de aduamo ni man no enche kro me ka say wonom wi wo de hwade
enti say na mote ye no party ni de omo party ma ade chen we because na Saturday ebe wura Sunday mu tina say Sunday an ma chen kan ne sa enti no abna baby de ade chen enti no oka kire nadamfo elamundi ese on de opeso okofie eno no no ye de edi kan eno no mu blemu abna baby say adentina oja no eno kra no di ehu mu aye bae
o biza be bia say bia ta man plan kula na ade ya o so bia ye de ekofie o so bia no etimi na so ntina wono mana mentina wono It's a dear maintenance Sky Hype. That's how I am my dan. And how I am them. How baby am da.
Inti abna baby de oja elamundi honom ekofie. Oja no ekofie no na elamundi enso wo honom no na abrante bi ono so honom ge medi kan bo ni di maam no. Ese ye friend Jesu no no wo na Jesu no ewo moto. Moto no na omode kofie minim se no omo kwa hin so no omo kwa de minim sa fact no. But the minim se na ela baby ela mundi no eti Jesu no moto so no mo de ko na ebi nso bisa se Jesu no na ye ela mundi ne girlfriend na eno no abna baby be kire mu ti o de yentim na nsa na ato aso
Oba wa yela na se wa ba pe madam fu na odon ko do ho be madam fu no so e chekja
Debi
ela boy am ni mo ye friend na kwa me enom ni nam na o say me friend na kwa me a wo
Henry enya ne boy why Henry enya ne boy
was me friend na kwa me a wo mpeke na mka che o say ade wo say abna de be ma be ye wo no cause me boy ni kaso de me dey am friend ela e cheche mu che no say wo ba de be ma be ye wo
ne boy no
e tell no be say wo be ma kram so me su ni wo asu
entina hanom no sene musiti ase no momfa ne saa nyame na meba be kirikire mu bebre ya bedueduo mu akire mu because omu ye nkyeye nti me pese me ko honom bebre saa ti sene musiti ase no momfa ne saa afi yen ko accident no so ela mundi etna moto na chi omuso omukọ so omukọ yin I don't know ena moto no puu no mu di speed na another twist so ne say na damfo ne say na nakwa me kura no onye esika bi nkyeye na wosan kokoto ka ena wan koto ka no koto moto bi sana na damfo abena baby ka na moto no so kura ne yesi nansensem bi nyoma bi wo yasemo yenti mfiri abena na no wai yenti mra
abena omone ka na hia ya na se moto ni ehwili ko soro na because how am to papa no ma share video na menti ase
de me mate no omo say boy na jiska be 2 months ni ena omo say nta won fa nkoto ka no da koto moto no say no penti moto no omo say na ase yo ena ode ahoma foforo e de ahye moto na ahoma nim ena ode ba ho no
Rade na ade wo ye fitani ana
entino another account nso no na omo kire say car bi ena bomb car kese ni bi no ena bomb because no mu di speed ena bomb nti tu omo kosoro pa no be bo honom na omo ti no papa ya omo nsa atwitwa chale video dey mintimi fan kire mo because of social media policies no mintimi emfa enhyem ba wo GH page website wo be hu video no ewo honom www.ghpage.com wo be hu video no ewo honom na ade ba ko a ese yakora ne se o posti yenso kra enche yo wo hwe sa jeda screen su ya we na one abena no ne ela no na omokoye omo lashes a omo de bepie nti ahanom no moko obi honom na abena ne de waye ne lashes na wie but na aka ela no ela mundi no se ono so ebe ne de nti eno na eda screen no so na wo hwe no nti na account so ankasa na me wey wo hwege ya no ho efe pa ya dempo okọ ne stories nso a ne story ena wo jesi na ehye no sa jesi ehye no eno ano de nya accident ni tutu so posti sa video we anche ena ofiri mu ya no because jesi we no eno ano na ehye no that night video no na ne ti apai no ai ntino wo hwe ne story a unse 15 hours ago enche ntino yakọ be ma ne side a yema na busuafo ne yakọ GH page yakọ oba no so side a yema no so abusuafo yakọ yeseso omo nhyeden ai abayo no ho efepa boy no so young boy fine boy fresh boy it's unfortunate say BBC SC
kano wana ayi radar capture se radar capture wa nipa no a wone ne udi sa abone no ono a na afrem ya ka kire me lawyer kusi asem America na na kuya ya se bone wa hu ye ni nsuma okofre obi ana all conventional obi a ye the base member a ukọ the base meeting who can the base mpanifo ho. Yes. Oh, can Agyapong oh ma? Can Agyapong fa ho he? Men ye chire yam ko ba mi ho. We enkosi aga the base enkosi aga yam ko ba mi ho. Sis nipa na mfa na adwen na ama no. The next call sana wa kwa frɛ Mr. George Otibosu ni keze. And oni se nipa bone no lawyer kusi nipa bone. Wako frɛ John Otibosu keze na onim okọ convention no se ono na ye panina a order nhyiaye so a o mobilize done for the base eti o na wodi animu di a ese lo yakusi ni target o because you say owo so we can it here dia ka nyina ya homa
Yes.
eti omo di the base anima omo ha adwen no e say ofro mo suma ase na o convince omo okofre so a jojo tibunsu wo fa ase and I say na wura fi say Samira Baumia na Dr. Baumia ekwa giri meme wo fa jojo tibunsu na dan gu ye no adan du wura fi wa hu
Afo se dey.
na dia na o kan ma yakusi afare se twom
No wafo.
na nkalo yakusi ye chirikoko ayedi naba
Dabi.
ani ngwase we nyina na nka wa ya nka ye the base meeting so a ukọ okopede so okopa asem
No dey.
okwa koju that is it
Frank. You have a compact for a baby next year. Almost selling the information the man other camp.
na kwia me see da bia me ka hu say me hiti omo ana omo frɛ and obi bia o tie me nim how I've been doing my cleanup. Yena nkasa. Yedi kina Agyapong achi. Yena nkasa yedi the base yechi na nakuya. Me see ebimo yede ya adwen ne nam. Enu nti na me say when it comes to money contribution, we must get a central account. And enhira nka Nyankopon say nyame ya adoma owura bi wo America. Ono na wagye agina ma o create the central account yede be J contribution for the base.
Yeah.
Yes, and owura no. Owosika papa. Owosika pa. You say be having to menka.
Okay.
Yes, but the American say owosika nkasa.
Okay.
And panumfo a omoda the base ya no. Omo ka ewom. Omo na omo si empunu a epunu. Omo nyina ya we. Omo nyina nim papa no. Eti say obi say ompene a on for the personal interest. But central account on there we will create. I will be able to send this sika. Meaning say by the close of this week or next week there, now are you ready? Then now you the account numbers na to ho na ye zeligum na ye de ye.
Yeah.
Na mama nchia me ankasa me papa Professor Dr. Agyapong. Yeah, Kumase. Na kuya also feel you rough.
Hey, this will feel you.
Yeah, Mr. Paul Agyapong. Yeah, I say a person no yet interview one-on-one.
Heat one.
And heat one. Or no yet the spokesperson for the base.
Okay.
Yeah, and Daddy, he's very honest, very sincere. Oh, Daddy Michiao. These are the kind of people we need them as the leaders of the base. I want mean for Sika.
And what now?
Obi mu wadi omu die nso amaje na obi kura emo kura ogidi emo common emo emo kura ogidi ayi amane de kura wadi na jeto me ho eti sa wo ye the base member me ka kire wo sa wo ye panyini sa wo ye hwan sa wo ye madam for sa wo ye hwan
na ba ni mbu ni sa
ye bu ni sa na ye bu no
o se amane de kura wadi na hwe so ma me
na jeto me ho ni nyina no sa be pepe amane de kura wadi na jeto me ho
na hwe so ma me
yes eti me na kwa me ka se me papa na ono no ye the detective intelligence only Ghana ha no everybody me can't let the base for no etu be je ye jai mummo ene date ento ho se what is say jai nkoma a ubedi ni wosuma si bia no mesrew we are capturing it eba life me ba be go udin na me kan kire say oh ye nyina ye the base members 80 franc kan wanu tum enya hwe me
obi a osi the base na nkosi aka we
yes eti me ka kokko ena lo yakusi de na aba sticker
so de na kwaso
we the base na say we bawumia yes because lo yakusi owura no friend no o nhia yeso eti lo yakusi ni bisa ne say o support ayi sticker ene yemra brad bawumia
let's
bibi wo ho but I've not gotten the real information about whether sticker ewo Dr. Bawumia and I said what the base yes enti sticker Mr. your information no I cannot confirm but ubeye nyunu a ye nyunu ubeye share ye she na kai say Dr. Baumia said, we kusie rat. Kayo. Uko dina chia. Kusie ya manu pose. Kusie. Ya babu bawo na mario. When you bet your menti. Na ochina ubesu. Me, I don't know. I am now establishing it. Me papa me freno. Me freno. Me freme papa. Na ose wa capture on the radar. Steka. Me babeka. Me pewasem. Very nice. Very, me know you're very close. But I don't when it comes to my expose, and yet me they are down for 70 and me asem etoho. I grab the Christ of Nazareth. It will be any asemba. It is the basis for no. Lawyer kusi dia the abai. Mo fanyo suya dia. Yeah. Na sa one yet, and we see NPP for now meeting, and their meeting and they say, omudi sika. Eba be shishe empanufo no bi ma omudi the base in anim said you omode ye in Japan 2023 and 2026 no that's what they are going to do panimpa na omokoye meeting no ofribi MPP ni panimpa ofribi it you must say the base is frustrating the NPP party. Okay, so now they are going to use money. It is the base for panimfo na mudi anim no mo imagine the base ye gina mu no. Because you are not no. It should be your first and last. And then we say me the me. I guess I'm from a barbecue. Mecca.
And I will be so. We went to this that means from the onset, when you're loyal to the base.
When you're loyal to the base.
And I have
yes. Now, my main clear this far.
Okay.
Bebrinas ye per se ye taking a Japan kasa. Ye per second a Japan be declare say I'm pa. Or no belly the base. Mesrew kena Japan o mekasa ne o mekasa ochina obayansafo yebube na yenka na sem me say yenye the base no na enye akono
yes
ye frɛ no wara obeba eno ano no de metimi aka kire wa ano no ye frɛ no wara obeba enti se obi daadaa se kena Japan ma me say kena Japan ompel ye betche no de na be di the base ye nim I believe the base they said ye chi obi di ni di ohene no
e no toto mutuo so na ehede
enti se kana Japan wa hu se ya nya ni ya ye kwachene kura na enche se what ya se enti for the meantime no me na me se me ye acting flag bearer for the base era na me ka na amanfo akoma ete no we see na na bia ya na bebre na fi se me Frankadane me propose any other please for whatever that I'm doing me here position dia even the Yoko boss no kra na ya meka no ya na me ahisem ne kwan ya amanfo e bokro no
na say ya na agrokra na odi
agrokra na me hwe amanfo de afa no wake up say me gi position me gi omo post afiri omo nsam na omo no start the base and na fahasi ha na me mfa nko ba bia na even my man I ban the whole world investor, they work lending no. All the time. What want me say? Oh my main political position be a da. Or say a political position na. Nko no, ono wa dia obetimi dia mame. Say me pa, me frank. Obama ma kwa political position. So I'm not even ready for any political position. Ade bi aye bi ameni papa muntina aya me so. Me ame papa the whole world on the Wosika. Our America friend Mr. Say. And now me know yeah you cry or frame me. Then me we are my friend. The whole world. Oh the whole world. The richest man in the world. Me say. But wouldn't him know. Or you Ghanaian. So dear Ben na me pa me minya. Eti the best na yet me mostly ayana agro na atwetwe na me didie. Eti don't take it work out. So when I offer the base buy, so when I go hold the euro, so no yeah, me no pressure. Please. Me dear, oh yeah, ye. Me if it is me, Krana, nko biaye organizer, ubiaye chairman, ubiaye secretary, ubia hold the position. Na ye nyina na ye koye nim. Oni ado ba koye. Ye you beat me Ghana as ho.
That's because of position.
That is it. And you oh say na ye the base. Oh, ye kwa ye way. Oh, yeah, we say, camera. That is it. Sikaraba. Piam! Oh, the Christ of Nazareth. Me say, a more could I do say, oh, there, mamma, Miankasa. My web video be this man, a friend in nature can. Okay. Maybe about Namon country nature can say, me Frank, me deneka. Into your own friend, me deneka. The way he spoke, nature can. That is why if se nipa or ya dena or ye ya, and yes, I me Frank Adan said you be any me. Etiminkuana minim de. Listen to nature can. You love it. These are the people we want.
Nene Chayasam, Aminia, Cecia, and Baby, we are saying, I have done no prayer. Now you would to me, a castle. If you send no crap in the sound, man in Chitriana, say, I see a fire there. I told you, Asama Oka, Tiasama Oka, MPP, and I want Ghana, and you see a better or mine. Young for money, and we see it, and to my partners, as some Murray. You would to me a diati. We are to Papa Debbie Moon and a grass. I didn't think I say what free sell promo said. Who got said the Coco cross open for small. Yakot to a back, Nansa Sama Canada for the 2 jars said. Obama said the organic foods now said the Ghana, potato, this anya mafano. Yet they are free fan or they reach a farm and said that so. I like it 38 and I said the wooden a child because you would to me. Also, no next year, Ghana netting one constituency, the bear budget to be free baby or Chapa, no near Babe. Sassam, okay, and your wisdom myself. Nansa Sambia, no, I said, you woman who bet you and watching it. If you says some no, that crack, who needs the Kadako 50 Ghana, they got who come and get up and put on no Maggie. Uma Cramo man goes to a some no can know. Woman Cramo man goes to not say who come and get a show my boss, Umiba Meto Cabra, Umiba Meto Yabro. Sassam no, no, about Miano Party. And Fasobia, who could do a chick or 2 about, and your bubbles, I don't think I make us out. So about 1.20 Yana Zoban, Vivian Petema. You about me watch your mom on 1 year away. Let him account for the fullest no, the 23 billion loan. On Famaya Wrestling Center. We are a potato rose, we are a potato rose, we are Pamoa, you are we success some Sajuma on one for so betting Ayana. And your brokers, I deal with who could do a thing with veterans and you took a Trabama Baonia. Then you can make a point to us Ghana food and 5 not say and talk about a Riasino. I think you're president or thinking or Trinity second Agyapong. Not Ghana, you're not by any organic food. That me investing in more. Yet me the apartment send us work or try this guy. Can this for Sabio and this for the baby Mutiana opportunity co work out. And some of the implementing organic foods here for Europe. And your man fata, your Koyan Bulas, your Quincy, and Jaffrey Gebez Yaba. Gebez Yaba say you to Mudim Hurram. If you say, I bet you a man and sewer, one year need the beds in our transfer, you will meet to me a wound to own, you know, mine. You know, mine also, my papa. A man, my papa sweat from any way. Papa, you can't Europe, and you, any other, any Juma papa. Any system is working. Now, to any Kenyan Sasamatra, you to me a bread. You to Munjami, the base, and only yet the most important, 16 years. I quit a 40 colon to 15 years. Think you if you saw money, I'm not saying, I do some queen that fun into my party. It's that. And you're my bogus. I didn't for my teacher, man. You come and tell you to a class. When I'm 90 to the time, you do sweat in the car from I don't want to so better to get him up and do. And you useless language and no one kick us and you bogus. Jenny the best. No man put 23 and Ghana young farmer media resources papa. You discovered what rich ideas. No man in Tumpo. Mina me that's it.
Nature can. Me say one country nature can say me Frank me deneka. You see this man, he has spoken very intelligently on point. But was one thing about Yen before and say sa nipa we anka ye be fa no na aye no kwabra na be ka se dabi ye Agyapong school ye na ye start ye enti oba onim say the level of his intelligence, you know, obe rising more than or no. Enti obe tietia no so o man kwan. Yes. But remember the nature can per what we have spoken. Say when you be a yebetimi adada wo de a meme say wo de me de woka and I can do anything in my capacity. These are the kind of people are ye pedia build on mind.
Yes.
And they are not common. Enti si yenye bia as I say a bomb what then said you be so muye. Into nature can you have spoken to my heart and meaning say Ghana ni bia o tie ni bia odwene on my ho na adwen papa wo ni trimu bia no the nature can yi e no kuruturu do a atowa koma so. There is a time we need people like this to develop this country.
Of course.
Other than that, we should forget it. Don't wanna ye did the base ye nimu no. Let's say enye kura, I'm telling you. Enye
so nim do any
and me nim dia me de mani ahu. Akwese ntoma katade so. Ba me Frank Adane so ameti ho die. Ye frame agese mahu. Me hu ameka. Enti obi anya na dwuma yie. Se wo ye ni yie a wani betene. And no way say me ba be ye kataso mu aso. I would never do that. Ye bebuild the Ghana. Ye bebuild the base. E de agi Ghana si ho. Enti wo a wo de aye o chop money. Wo de aye life support. E na wo da so. Na o fi say e no na wo de bedidie no. E de obedi udoko no kwa. Yes, wo ye kura so ye be pam wo. Yes. Ye be pam wo. Said ya sake ayi lawyer kusi. Sa na ye be sake wo. Ye sake nso me ba be kam obi ate. Yes. Enti when it comes to all this intelligence and I can tell you and then an pay me banner one inspector be frame me no frame was a Frank also support the base. Okay, but also when it comes to the security matters here men ko na me you be a between handle ni entina or frame no so when they are in the service omo your politics but when who say me the way I handle the men no in the service no he's very happy. I'll see a friend with you 24/7. Oh, now the okabia now so daddy mate now men so no I'll do everything possible. Said the mercy I protected now me handle the security men no our mother's war service no the same thing I'll handle him. And he said the base in the don't try and there is one thing that I want Ghanaians to understand about the base and the reason why the NPP and NDC, none of them can help. Would you listen to this video and you cry? Daddy, neighbor. Daddy.
This action to announce a 28% reduction in the price amounts to a haircut of about 28% on close to 1 million Ghanaian cocoa farmers.
I am a pensioner, and all my money, I must confess, I know I'm on the money that I saved to take care of my pension time has been taken over by the banking cleanup. So I don't have my money to support such a wonderful book. And if I tell how much that I saved for over 30 years to take care of my position now, you weep for me. And I get nervous. At my age, to pick it as Minister of Finance. Because the legitimate money that I made has been taken over and I'm not being paid. Meanwhile, I've gone to Parliament within the budget that they are paying us. They have been paid. About 800 of my people have died. Others have got stroke. And when we meet, we see a lot of our people in wheelchairs. That's what the government wants us to be. That's what you want me to be.
Nanakuya, this is the state of the NPP and the NDC. So if you are listening to me, and then they are brand here, you broke us, you are mako, ufi se and one no. Papa Panginia, what Papa woman, wawu. Papa Panginia, 1 year, Juma Bobra, or Brown, who was sick. Papa, in one of his videos, or patch or crass, what the Adrunum Puno, or Moan Cassan Concoto, and Famano. Yes, dear, or Jessica Numpu, no matter Sibia, or the Yariana Naya K. Odo Moan Casa, any receipt no Muncoto Adrunman. Oh, woo! MPP flow, we didn't listen haircut. And then this same MPP, now then time na haircut, NDC for so sorry. MPP are buying more minimum kukura for a pension for home. Brana pensioners, a demonstration. Look at the way NDC for far so Kasai is sympathizing with the pensioners. And then the table has turned. Yama NDC for to me. NDC for so no makwati cocoa prices so. Now, you think cocoa prices we ya. MPP for ya so say that be more minute acquire for home. So what you say? Frankly speaking, so the reduction of the cocoa price is as a result of the decrease in the world price market. And no the nanka and yet the NDC fault. But omo nu masem yan kano kreno na atitiro omo. Yeah. But and the MPP for ya omo di bone omo ya we say we NDC for fault no umbe use against wo e for parliament ko cocoa like I still don't understand who crack cocoa for them. It is who crack cocoa for them. It is said we are Ghanaian. Now you are still believing in the NPP and the NDC. Your future will be like the old man. Yeah. No one can say I was born a brand new sicko. I am farmer. And then or the area one yare cool. Yadan kwa be brina the area one yare. Akubu. Enti say yes, say oh reform sa na oh hwe wo de. Yes. Winning for 40 or to nipa na nsa no et se nipa. Say oh rea na oh hwe wo de. Our future is the most important thing. Yes. Enti yenyina mama yen sorry. Now I was finding out the reason why cocoa you reduce it. So I got to know that there are some countries who are now producing cocoa. Okay. So what I said, in large and in a technological format, it's like in simple economics. Say adiano eba market bibria nebuwa no yaden ecoform. So if we didn't take care and plan ourselves and they cry and then pay to cocoa to 2,580. So that's what you. So sada ya koye and I said ye buy. We don't plan. And we've been dependent on these advanced economies, which yes, political science and the political science lecturers. We all know, say, the Ghana's economy, the third countries, is on the dependency theory. Until you dependent on them for survival. So whatever happens to them, yet a kaya in the million times. So anyway, dear Ben, and the idea. Upon say we have the corrupt politicians near the other. I blame the lecturers too, the political science lecturers. So you know the right thing. Maybe we should blame the educational system in this country. Are you trying to tell me oh, Nanakuya, T. So what akura de na wamfampa ono ankasa nim se akura teacher ni we de okande who said that as at now obi a we school bia no wunim the disciplined teachers enti ba wo ba so say yeah politicians no munim se de omo ye nyana oh that's right and I make sure say education for the result of education because they define education education is a positive behavioral change. Any education. So what you say? So yes, then if there isn't any positive behavioral change in our leaders, your one school now, it means no education. That is it. That is the whole. That is it. No education. Education is not. We say we just some have just akronfo no. Your definition of education by akronfo, and your definition of education by non-akronfo. So what I say, in the akronfo no, what they say. If you're able to read and write, that is education. By now, you know, man, who I am for no, yes, daddy, a positive behavioral change, and not alone. No, I will bet they are impacted in the society and the community. Not what they are solving societal problems. That is education. No, so we have a long way to go.
Of course.
Yes. Na the etie no no
ya da yakoso ya ni pitiri
sa fe
bisa na ya be no aye be ye sorry so na sa ya be kono asenya be keka
oh na kuya the meka kire the base members nyina na say obi ani asempa na reda na de asogon enti wo a wo so ye panyini wo na wo ha hwene he wo na wo ho ane hwan ade bia wo ye bia no you are on the radar
ya hwew
Eba beba beka. Ya na almost Frank na wetie free nipa no so ho. There are certain information hu hia say me free nipa na bisa no ho asem. Enu nti na meka se meka na wonte ase a maye meche me ana fa me court. Wo de wo free me Frank ya ma report wa ma ha police station me ankasa meba me aba beche me. So de me court o person serve me na wunyame a Frank me de court ha me pe wa serve wo de me de me WhatsApp number kra be ma na o de asende me ma wo mo wan ha wo ho e ma ba bia me wo de me de be me was aye me number na wo so no ntu de frɛ se de o person wo ye me bia ma kan se magu ani ma ase na o person wo ye me bia o de frɛ me a me ba and I'll never lie it ye na ye di the base anim no obi ani asempa ente sa na e ba mesre memo bia me frɛ me ka oh Frank ye pa achew we de e fi asem dabi di asempa na wo di asempa wani mbetene ese lo yakusi hwanim guase lo yakusi waje na okukusiku wo di bone we na wo yesu ye committee a wasanso ahye kotu abotai wasanso ukwa koginam na ya pamo no ye be pamo da saa ye be pama amanfo kateboni bi e ba be frɛ bia no ye be yina firi
away Mr. Father ya na sibebre so ba na ne ye ebedin komanya Michelle
Mr. Madam ase na kuya me kan no ye wo plot of land e wo Accra ha ye ton nto obi bia o pe asase atobia asem eni ho no wo de ofrɛ me a me ankasa bede owura no number be ma me papa bebre o mo won sase a ewu kurum pa anti bra o passa asiato na ananso se o pe contractor manasi udan ama na me ankasa me nua baako ono so no oye nkate nkate mole
okay
nti se o pe delivery dodo a o pe bia no obe deliver ama nti na de etie no
Ala ya Ford no so ho.
Ya Ford ya Ford no ho. Nti amanfo momra meto. Momra meto na enye fefefe na otimpa na wo flexia. Ghana manti awurade Christ of Nazareth.
Abusa for ha ya kuma hwehwe ni na ebesi wo so adventure ne se fama your comment section one more like na share na for sanso 18 enka bia kro bia. Hit who of ya Jimmy so say hit abusa for lawyer kusi akwa kopiam ewe the base meeting ase ema ya pamo no e dia na wa ye nta ya sake no abusa so fa da no me che wo stipi ha o be drop information ni na e dia maye ti frobi no bi sum frobi na dedika so na twa ya so na like na wa share na subscribe and so e de amami kano ya kwa Mr. Frank Adani Akwaaba Mr. Frank Adani the information manager 1 Akwaaba
Nana akuya ahofe papa bi.
Hey,
ene de ahofe na adware sei.
Frank.
We de enye slave queen for mo perfectly de adini de lu.
Oh.
We say kutu.
Say bam.
Abusianfo wo ne menya ade a.
Menya mani wo hio. Menya mani wo hye.
Na sa we de ne natural beauty. Until I say, and yet slave queen for now, or more firstly, the entity, Nubia.
Everyone, and now, lawyer Pussy and any family about baby.
Sir,
now lawyer Pussy, I will PML the base meeting. I say, you would have say, hello, sir, please go back home.
Whatever you had lawyer Pussy, I have palm on war.
No, every lawyer Pussy said, why? Yes, please go back home. Okay, sir. Now, why the palm lawyer Pussy free meeting? I say,
Mr. Cassay, I was share the link.
Yes.
Now, wouldn't say me Frank Adane. Say information no be do me headquarters. Na me kama amansa nyina atia. Wo de ka hu say e jetu yato.
So now you critical.
Because me can't say ma. Nobody needs evidence to believe it.
Yes.
Yes. Na kuya. Ma me mo me nsem ma. Eye Professor Emeritus, Doctor, George Otibonsu. Yes, Mr. George Otibonsu has proven, say indeed, he is a great leader for the base. I hear now Bebrina say, oh, politics is about numbers. This movement is about numbers. Intini pano say onye krana, wodie enyepe yenye ne sa. Basa ni pana onye no. Bonia Odino is more dangerous. Lawyer Kusi, Yenina Yenim, say Yeka Ubia or Dokina Agyapong or Kahubi. The base in Soso Mpanimfo or Kahubi. Na oye ukuku sekuo minia suroni panaja samai no nipa huye papa bi na nakuya me papa baako aya na me money din because when it comes to security intelligence ono na abrebia o de mame oni Ghana ha but the air course wo Ghana ha bia oni no hono frame lawyer kusi asemi me kai ya pe no frame no say he Frank we akura bone pa wo
that has changed now since the Russia-Ukraine war and since Ghana fell into that situation. There was an improvement of that situation coming out of the IMF program in 2023. That improvement was intended to continue. You may well say that the NDC have been better managers of the economy. Fair enough. That's the jury is still out on that matter. But then you come to the point about the Russia-Ukraine war is still on. The Russia-Ukraine war is still on. The effect of the Russia-Ukraine war at the time it started and its effects now all over the world has completely diminished. Why has it diminished? Because what the Russia-Ukraine war did, which is why it was easy for political spin doctors to say that whatever problem you are facing is not Russia-Ukraine war. It was easy for you to spin that was because the world was unaware of the extensive supply chain connection between Europe and the rest of the world that was controlled by Ukraine. The world was not aware of that. Egypt did not have grain for weeks and months because of the Russia-Ukraine war. This is a war that came to disrupt supply chain. It's not a war about fuel or the things that we can obviously relate to. So if you're a government and you say that your supply chain has been disrupted and therefore prices of commodities which pass through that supply chain will escalate, it's not very simple to explain that to many people, especially when you have a charged political atmosphere where your opponents are spinning the other way. So that is the point of the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, once it started, it is a supply chain disruption. The world, sophisticated as we have become, will always find an alternative to a supply chain disruption. You heard that when they said the Strait of Hormuz had been blocked, there are ways to, America is already thinking of how to avoid that and circumvent all of these things. This is how the world has become. So the effects of the Russia-Ukraine war have been circumvented. The supply chain has been replaced. So to say that the Russia-Ukraine war is still raging, I think that is the worst of the arguments that anybody can make. The Russia-Ukraine war is still raging. How can anybody say that? It's a supply chain disruption. That supply chain has been replaced. The Russia-Ukraine war can go on forever, and it will never have the effect of the time it started. I don't understand how anybody can spin political propaganda and say that Russia-Ukraine war is still on. Really? What's the point you are making? So if you come back to the management of the economic situation, we used to be net importers of petroleum. Now we are both net importers and net exporters. That obviously is a better situation. Until and unless we have the control in our country.
You're talking about the Middle East crisis, the current
yes,
one,
yes,
not Russia
yes,
Ukraine war.
Yes, I'm moving to the Middle East crisis.
Okay.
So I'm setting out our petroleum agenda.
Okay.
That we used to be net importers. Now we are net exporters as well. That's a better situation than being net importers only. Until and unless we are able to develop the supply chain and have control over the products that we own and set up a petroleum system, a petroleum regime that has our own control over it, we are always going to be susceptible to global fluctuations. So if you look at over the years, and that's why I started by saying we are net importers, we are net exporters. Now, it was worse before. If you look at since the beginning of the early 2000s, maybe in the 1999, the thinking about Ghana's sustainability in petroleum had begun. And so institutions like BOST, which were not existent, were created, the bulk oil storage. This is all in getting Ghana to own a significant part of the petroleum regime so that we can control the prices for longer periods. That process had started. That was under the NDC. Then President Kufuor came and the NDC, I think they created Tamale Refinery. The Tamale Refinery was always there, but they gave it some special attention. And then there was, you remember there was something called toll debts.
Right.
Okay. And then there's a Ghana Commercial Bank stuff. I'm talking about the beginning of the process that started about 25 years ago to create Ghana's energy sustainability and energy control. So all of these institutions were developed up until NPA, National Petroleum Authority, Petroleum Commission. All of these people are, so once Ghana began to find oil, all of these institutions have been created to try and increase Ghana's control over petroleum fluctuations. So the control that Ghana has over petroleum fluctuations in 2024 is greater than the control that Ghana had 10 years earlier,
right,
whichever government was in place. So in these circumstances, Ghana has better control over petroleum fluctuations because we are here in 5 weeks, 6 weeks. We didn't used to have that. We used to be days and months, and did I say months? Days and 2 weeks, and it's gone. When the President Kufuor administration took over in January 2001, panic immediately hit the government because they were told that they have only 2.5 weeks of import cover. So if we have moved from 2.5 weeks in 2001 to 5 weeks in 2026, that's a significant improvement. But let's not anyone say that somebody is a better manager of Ghana's petroleum situation than the other, because we are not yet at the place where we have even 60% control. So whoever is managing it, if the crisis is deep, it will affect you. The reason why Ghana has survived this crisis up until now, and we may survive it even longer, is because of the systems that have been developed over time to increase Ghana's control over the petroleum situation. Started 25 years ago. So we are where we are now because of that work that had been done. I'm sure by the next 10 years from now, a lot more would have been done. So we are where we are as a combination of a state effort. It's not because NDC is a better management of something. Now, where we are is still not where we want to be. So if the crisis hit to a certain level, whether NDC like it, whether they are good managers of the economy, whether they have the best finance minister, the crisis will hit because you are not sustainable. If politicians want to spin this one and use it for election, that is the evil that has brought us to where we are. When politicians know that this is not something to spin, but you want to win election, so you will spin it as being against the government, when you know that the system and the economy that we run, it is unable to resolve certain shocks. You know. But then when the shocks come and you are excited about it in opposition because you believe that it will make the government unpopular, and every economic shock makes every government unpopular. Over the last few days, Americans have been complaining about the sharp rise in petroleum. They are complaining in Europe. So for us citizens, we are electing you to come and sort us out. If there's anything, we complain about it. If I'm opposition and the system allows me to exploit the complaints of the people against the government, even when I am aware that this is really not the government's fault. If you swap the government on Monday, I will be in the same situation. If you swap the government that bring John Mahama to be president in 2021, you will have the same situation. Once we agree on that, then we can now compete on ideas that are original. But if we exploit things that we shouldn't exploit, then we have created a chain that will now be exploited all over. So hope that this crisis doesn't get there. But if the crisis gets to small places where we have to increase petrol by marginal conversations, it will now start. Why are you increasing the petrol? Didn't you say your fundamentals were good? You say that everything is good. You say that you have your dollar, you have your CD. If the CD goes to 12, it will start. You say your fundamentals are good, so why are you complaining? Because a system has been put in place where politicians are exploiting some of these things. That's the problem. That's the problem we have.
Okay. Doc.
Yeah. You see, I can understand where my brother is coming from. There is some form of... you cannot tell me that a government uses 126 ministers at a time, and one comes and is using 58, 60. That is not management, and that is a fluke or is by accident. No, it's by leadership. In a situation where you find a whole number of MPs calling on the resignation of the finance minister from their own fold, it couldn't have been good management. That is a mark of poor management. Choosing to build a cathedral in a period that you were hemorrhaging, that is not good management. A particular government comes, deciding that, look, I want to have 60 at most, now using 58. He decides to say that, well, you cannot be using DSTV and the state to be paying. You cannot be drawing fuel, right? These are cost-cutting measures that is born out of a kind of leadership. Yes, you may all be exposed to, right, a certain fundamentals. But that is why I'm saying that it will be the miracle of the century, right? If the effect that will come because of this, right, is minimal. And Mr. Franklin Kujo suggests to the effect that maybe even if it is a year, we may not experience that. I am not an expert in that field. But these intangibles, right, that the leadership of the president has put in place cannot be ignored. They cannot, right? So if I look at some of these things, I believe that it will boil down to leadership. It will boil down to some shrewd management. The effect, yes, if it goes on, it gets protracted to a certain level, we are going to have that kind of effect. You cannot in any way, run away from that. I just also wanted to check, for example, Mr. Adumochiri suggests that, well, the Russian thing is there, but it is now a lame argument because they have found different routes. Of course, we made a mountain out of a molehill with respect to using that as an excuse. Maybe at that time, they did not know how to circumvent that, and so with time, it has been. But you still cannot, in any way, ignore the fact that the war is still raging. And you can also not ignore the fact that the effect ought to be there. It may be minimal, but it will still be there. But it is because somebody else is taking a different decision, a different direction altogether in terms of management. So, as a way of putting all the two together and think that, well, when the fundamentals are weak, it will affect you anyway. It doesn't matter the shrewdness of the finance minister or whoever, right, that is handling the affairs of the economy of the country. I think that it has. Okay. Probably, the former president did not listen a lot more to the people that matter with respect to his government. Because, as I said, people who are following you might have seen something in your finance minister to suggest to you that, look, change him. How long did it take for him to change him? To decide that resuscitating the banks, that will cost the nation around 9 billion. You decided to go on the path of what? Collapsing. And at the end of the day, the state had to spend over 25 billion. That is not good management. So we cannot put them on the same, scale and condemn them together, thinking that, well, the crisis have come anyway. Whichever way you look at it is going to affect you. Yes, it is going to affect us. The extent that people have said, and that is why I said that the verdict, yes, I agree, that over the period, we have been using certain things for political gain, which after some years, we are beginning to do away with that. Petrol. And the first person that I will mention, his name is Mr. Kokubako, right? After President Kufuor took over, what did we see? He said, no. He's realized that being in opposition and find yourself in government are two different things. We need to bite the bullet. That is, he brought the expression. And Mr. Kokuba also insisted, along some of the argument to enjoy that, look, it appears that going forward, petrol is something that we must not do what? Politics with it. So that narrative also shaped the argument along the line. Until at that time, we had not even gotten fuel, in commercial quantity and so on and so forth. So we have come a long way. But we cannot do away with the fact that you have a new president, we had an old president that probably never listened to good counsel and rather listened to his finance minister. And so, and of course, people say that Vice President Bawumia was not made to operate freely. Probably all these things could be part of the argument that led to a situation where the government found itself. And the verdict is what Ghanaians gave in 2024. That is the final verdict. No matter the political spin in anybody who put on that, that is the final verdict. And that is that which they must be thinking about. Okay. You understand? So, in actual fact, we just have to pray that things do not prolong as it should be. At the end of the day, if the economy is good, it's good for everybody else.
All right.
Eka nokre ebinom edi nokra de mo oman ebinom ewo oman no edo makoma so. I will never sit down for nipa watu no bottom $6 million say yem fancy facility em fanhwe Ghana for na me hwese say nipa no yen ja no say yen to ne ntwene keke na ni so ade hunu nya no enkoda ba bi keke ensi da wo mo a yem mo kwan mo ma bedi Ghana so no Trame nipa baako politician baako a watimi ayi ni bottom sika 1 million Ghana cedis mpo sa me di ye bibi sei e de ama Ghana ya hunu bi eti se obi ada no ho di sei a hai Allah wallahi nia ye beye bi adama honorable Kenonya Agyapong abedi mampani no ye beye. But that also mean it doesn't also mean say yani MPP party no so a problem yani mu ni problem ye adwuma ye ku yanim eti MPP so nya na adwuma ye nyina ye ko na mum ye nyina be kwa akohia ewo at the crossroad ewo 2028 ye nyina be kwa akohia na afa ye nyina ya to aba ema Ghana etimi akonanim enu ntini eguso aya build base no mom ye mfa o keka ene ye nieden emfa build base no mamunye watime wakame we dia dabi na mo fa akoma kro embuild base no mo fa akoma pa embuild base no because the base has a purpose. Mom yan fa akoma pa any adwempa embuild base no because base no are ready. The base is very ready. Mom yan fa akoma pa embuild base no makane mpramiensa akoma pa any adwempa yan fan build base no me kwaya me de wensu kwaya ne de dabi na momoma ya nyina yan fa oneness na fa yan fa tumrika ne yan kuyanim the base it is a currency it is a sofo mo a as I say etumrika no war and as I say timi stop the base as I say base no bibia base ni be hye bia no ese base ni timi a punch through you bunu to from near ko bibia ni wa ese si base no kwan Kenya Agyapong kra ewini se MPP delegate eto abakwa de ma honorable Kennedy Agyapong se wo medi MPP party na nimu a na omumu binom akohia fa adwene abronya mu nyina ka ho se anko mbekwa akwatu am party se Kenya Agyapong ebedi MPP party na nimu a there are certain MPs a wo parliament a wo mu nyina akohia akoye meeting se anko mbekwa akwatu am party omu ndi Kennedy Agyapong achida na se aboa no ni sun nkwase esun dia ene ane nam nsoso no mama na ya nkwase anam amaw It is yet needy animal yet the needy accident so and ye. It is a me believing in the idea and the vision of Honorable Kennedy on Agyapong. Now say MPP delegates to Omum Pa. Menu Omu Niasem. Nemom kwan bi amesume nam so a wo ba ba mampani no eno na me nam so ameye sane omo pe no eno o maye etini amenso me pe no meye. Make sure say the man becomes the next president of the Republic of Ghana, because ya hweye na ya hweye na ya hweye na ya man nipa wo mo wa Ghana na wodo endi Ghana nanimu a the beto yen no yempe. The beto yen no yempe. And that is why Debi ayana mi wabu fo kakra about the base for and say, look, a nipa would one support Honorable Ken. And confirm on yes MPP party no mo don wo. Nemom na Honorable Ken on Agyapong. How are wetimi aye consistent ewo Ghana ha about odinu kure. What can some sun yet no and no man call for any mujidie and some call for now no more pet Honorable Ken no up till now. Omodaso ekromu say a trash Honorable Ken be a mampany. It is your body base now. Mommy and body base ni. See your body base now. Mama yani embre. Mama yan fa keka emfa base nim. Honorable Ken on Agyapong eguso eye MPP ni enya yasem. Na mom ya de ya guso ya boaboa ya ho ano ne ya boaboa ya ho ano wie nsososo a yenim nia ye beye cause Ghana no ye be na ye we need better proper leadership with good character. Menka so omo adi animu no any good character menka sa omo nsoso wo omo de omo so ene omo de. But I can tell you say amaya wodo bi te say UAE, Katanom, any other amaya or more developing tentem dimrika gidigide no. Ebinum edi kan be di animu. Ebinum ebedik edi kan be di animu. Ansana womo a edisu nei eba. Etibusa ho se no omo nyina ye nipa baako a adan ti na bra no omo esiso no. Omo man na ntimi antumrika akọ nanim. Ententem na ennei ebinum bedi so a ekọ nanim. Echira say omunyina ya politicians nanso so ye wo ebia ne emu nsonsonoye ye wo ebia ne emu nsonsonoye ebinom eka nokre ebinom edi nokre de mo oman ebinom ewo oman no edo makoma so. I will never sit down for nipa watu no bottom $6 million say yem fancy facility en fanhwe Ghana for na me hwese say nipa no yenja no say yento ne ntwene keke na ni so ade hunu nya no enkoda ba bi keke ensi da wo mo a ye mo kwan mo ma bedi Ghana so di Ghana so no tira me nipa ba ko politician ba ko a watimi ayi ni bottom sika 1 million Ghana citizen po say me di ye bibi say e di ama Ghana ya hunu bi eti se obi ada no ho di say ya hi Allah wallahi nia ye beye bi adama Honorable Ken on Agyapong abedi mampani no ye beye. But that also mean it doesn't also mean say ye ne MPP party no so a problem ye ne mu ni problem ye adwuma ye ku ye nim eti MPP so nya na adwuma ye nyina ye ko na mum ye nyina be kwa akohia ewo at the crossroad ewo 2028 ye nyina be kwa akohia na fe ye nyina ya to aba e ma Ghana etimi akonanim na me catch Honorable finally say papa me move MPP as a party na mom Honorable Ken on Agyapong. I have believed in this man's message, the policies, the vision a ekuta no manyamutidie too much na niama manyamutidie nyemu ahotoso ne se papa ne yobia nya wobeka bia no oye ne pepepe en wanyo bia wo penkontompo ne nada enti na sanwa ne party MPP no eniama nkoyi a he is the only politician otimi hwa ne party nanim eka nokre e de kire wo mo na eno ka ho na binum ampenasem ebesinne na mo meme wona ni suade hunu no me wo mu gidie se betimi asesa Ghana na men san ma chida mekoso adi akire ekwan bia nyankopon edeboa ya me afa so se ken onye Japan dan kwama bia ba be mampani ewo Ghana ema na ni suade hunu yanya so mfaso no ye beye yentena sema ne kokoye se oman wenu se wowom na se wo ye kataso muamu aso a enipa bebre dow echen ne awoka no kure yenti ase da ema ne nkoye se enipa etan no kure na mum enipa penkontompo ene ndada enipa wo mo adwene bone ekuta wo mo ena politically ye pe wo masempa enunti ena ebinum timi fra no aboken ka chense papa adwuma ne de wo policies ndi enkenu ano no nanso wo politics na wo ye no o ka no kura dodo ye beye den so atimi atena omem na nipa wo ka no kura de ye mpenasem nipa wo ka no kura de ebinu be sheda akoye o madwene se ye ma ne kwan ma ne mbedi ya nimu da because o ka no kura na nra medical dabe na ne nansa me gina ha kan se oko across asane manso omo MP ye friend Oluwaluwa oti East Legon en wa besia kodi MP wa across na se wudu across pa na wo he akwawe so awia ebo ho hesania sabe amanfo aye so dry ewo ho na member of parliament etimi emma each delegate omo obia 5,000 Ghana cedis delegate over 530 something etimi sika ti say the commercial delegate no ema wo mu di no omoto aba edema no wa central challenge e dey ato say coming 2028 no crowd here wo wa dwene say o pese o contest no o twen obra obetua 10,000 Ghana cedis o man no nia ekono no na sa the same MP kwatena baabi ka say can onye Japan pa de ya ma ne kwan da so be the MPP anim etin ka Kenya Japan kra ewini se MPP delegate eto abakwa de ma honorable Kennedy onye Japan so wo medi MPP party nanimu a na omumu binom akohia fa adwene aboanya mu nyina ka ho se ankombe kwa kwatwa mu party second Japan ebedi MPP party nanimu a there are certain MPs wo parliament a wo mu nyina kohia akoye meeting se ankombe kwa kwatwa mu party omu ndi Canada Japan achida enra pani baako MPP pani baako pa frame enemy di nkomo na asamo a frame ka kire me ne say look Mr. Nkum minim se moye peeved na mo mesro na me ne wakasa kakra nam so honorable kasa wada Roma I never knew say pani sa no e wo me number o say day in day out mitie sinipen me hwesi ni pen na ade baako a eye me de ene se ebinum fo se bia mo sai MPP party ebinum fo se bia Ghana mpanifo ena mo mpe wo mu asem ena mo keka mo adwene e kire yen na mo meme de matena si di ehunu se look enya saa netie enya saa enetie na mom sade be ya oman no ebekoyie na se ye pese oman ni koyie na se wunua ya mfomso no antimi ahwe nanim anka no kra nkyere na obeye den wa hu se esa wo twa ne ye sabone kwa ben wonam so be hunu se ade a wo ye no enya de papa na mfa so papa emma na mom se manya akukuduro na mo ka no kra saa no eyamede na mo nkoso na mom mesra mo se minim se my very peeved na mo mesra mo me pa mo chew se anka baby aduru bia no you people should come back mumbra back to the MPP if you say force amukuta ne adwuma amoye no kebetimi aboa MPP pa especially at this moment eniama aye bibia ewo ho no kebe boy empa anti mesremo said ye tie bia no ka momfa bibia nche na monsan machi na momeka MPP ne wona yenko yanim na se obi gina baabi na se okaseti am platform na me gine ho aya na mente ase na me hunu nse tumi eduru baabi amanipa ebe ya homaso eti yesremo because adwuma amaye ama ya hunu se a lot of eniama ye betena abamu ankoye yeyeye said ye tieti ankofo na so ewo ye party MPP mo ekwan ya ye de nipa efa so ya nwene da senka baabi e beba begina nie but mo na matimi ahwe yanim aka nokure e de akire yen ama enne ye yankasa kra na ye di party nanim no ye nya akukudura ye gina baabi a ye timi eka bi ka kire nkofo se yesremo mombra back ne nya tumi ni biemu a ye nya saade ni biemu Name every politician